Hello, we're live.
Hello.
Good evening, good afternoon,
Hello.
good morning, wherever you're watching from.
We made it.
I hope everybody's well.
We're all
We
good.
did. I'd like to welcome you all and welcome our two great guests who need no introduction whatsoever, because we all know who they are. And without them, my channel wouldn't be here today. So
but
I always like to say a big thank you.
never mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, welcome everyone.
Well, thank you for having us, and
Is that me?
I'll say thank you on behalf of both of us, me and my pal over there.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Especially the Havering Mad Scots.
I'm really excited to talk about it because I've seen a lot of your videos, but we've never actually met before. So this is exciting for me. So,
Right on. Right on.
Yeah.
I know.
Same here.
I know what it's like. It's, back when I was in the first year, and there was people like Casey and Johnny, for instance, Ripper, who ended up kind of pulling away for a while and everything. But in that first year, I used to look up to guys like him because, well, like when he did the llama burn video, because he just, unfortunately, one of the llamas on his property passed, and so he had to burn the remains of it, and he was showing everybody what it was taking for the bones to break down and how sturdy the bones were, and it was just extremely interesting. So I used to always look up to him. So when he ended up reaching out to me and developed a friendship with me, I always that kind of got me going too. Back then when I was just a noob, so I do understand that feeling. It's but it's how we all start. I mean, we all look for somewhere where it's like, that person's gotten farther than I am, and so I'm gonna go ahead and see what they're talking about, and as I'm doing my own investigation, and it helps everybody just come up to speed quicker. There's a lot of information in the Avery and Dassey cases to download and and to really go over. It's bigger than most cases. I don't know if you guys caught this, but when Tracy Strunzi was live the other day with Ricky Kidd again, I came in and was asking about was Ricky able to get his entire case file and have it with him in his cells when he was trying to fight his own case, right? And he explained, oh yeah, I was able to have my file. That's when Tracy went on to explain to Ricky why I was asking, because Avery's file is so big, he can't even have his whole case file in his cell with him. That's how abnormally large, the Avery and Dassey case, the information and everything that there is to, go through is. So yeah, it helps when you have more and more people that are helping to bring more and more of the community up to speed and aware with the facts of it, beyond making a murder. So
yeah, absolutely,
yeah, definitely.
I think it's good to have these discussions as well, because especially when you're new, like from my perspective, when I was, listening to you guys and the things that you've done over the time that you've been doing your videos, like it's good to come on and have conversations with people like you. So like if I've got an opinion on something and you know something more than me, which you're bound to, it's good to have these discussions in front of other people who are coming to watch, so that they learn too. So
it's exactly. It helps everybody kind of come up to speed. I mean, it's another thing about all the communities like Twitter, where you guys are really, really active and stuff. But then you got the Discord communities. I mean, Foul Play over there. I mean, Foul Play is a freaking powerhouse. I mean, right now that's probably the place where the most research is getting done. And I mean, those people are really, really at it, and they, my hat's off to them, because they're over there giving people a place to go to get educated, and everything beyond the YouTube platforms or the Facebook groups or whatever. So I mean, and when there's these places where people are getting together to talk about it, it only continues to build the case, and with more people like you two, who are now getting on to YouTube and wanting to get more vocal about it, and that continues to happen. I mean, more and more people are cropping up, with, obviously with Linda Kay. We have obviously Fen over there with her podcast of 80 More Things, and then now Jane, and both of you. It's like, and it just continues to grow, you know, and that's what I want to see happening. That's what I want to encourage. And that's why my hat's off to, like I say, the foul plays and anywhere that people go to gather together to talk about and support Avery Dassey, but not only that, even wrongful convictions in general, folks. I think it's important moving forward for us to focus on the importance of that. You don't need to download the information like you do in the Avery case to go and look at other wrongful convictions and see the outward indicators that are generally the common threads. You won't have to. You generally will get an idea about a case without having to read the entire case file, if it's worth reading the case file, by looking at some of the outward, things. Like, was there anything held back by the prosecution? Was there questionable forensic science, i.e. bite mark, and various other types of Dwayne Deaver and his brand of forensic science over in the staircase. So it's like having all knowledge of all these different things. It helps us when you really, really care about Avery Dassey. These other cases and knowing what happened in them helps you argue more effectively. And it's like I said, I've been making this analogy. It's like if you're arguing with somebody and saying how the cops in the Avery case were definitely doing something, and they were planting like at least the key and maybe the RAV4 or whatever, right? And putting the RAV4 or whatever, or something, whatever you want to say. And if somebody's come back, oh, you think that really police officers could really do that with so many there, and then you can say, well, look at things like the drug scandal. How many people there realized what was actually going on, and that these two drug analysts had really screwed up, and that the state really was on the hook? And look at how many of them decided to help cover ass.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how many of them got in line to do it. It's not like they were doing it maliciously, like they had something against, anybody in particular. They were just getting in line and falling into line. And for me, it shows how easy it is for that to happen. There was a clip on Twitter I saw yesterday. I'll probably post a clip of it for you all today. But it was here in LA, and it showed an officer arresting somebody. He was there. He had a female officer with him. Clearly, the female officer was his backup. Clearly, he was the male officer was the in charge, right? Basically. So they got this guy kind of up, his face, this suspect, his face up against the wall. They've got his arms, the guy's arms are behind his back, and they've got his wrists like kind of close together behind his back, as if they're getting ready to put on handcuffs or whatever. And suddenly the cop hits him, starts pounding on the guy, beating on him pretty bad. And the guy's kind of just taking the beating. He doesn't know what to do. And the cop's continuing to hit him. The dude ended up having all kinds of abrasions. The cop had bad damage to his knuckles and hands and all this sort of stuff. What I was impressed by, number one, I thought it was an outrage what the cop was doing. But what I noticed beyond that was his backup. His backup was sitting there watching all this shit happen and was like, okay. And I'm like, when you can see it happen right in front of your eyes like that, how these all compasses point north, as I've been trying to explain for so many years now. I mean, when you see it happen right in front of your eyes like that, that's for me powerful. So I'll probably be posting that a little later today for you guys all to see it.
Yeah,
thank you.
I hate that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's really disturbing, isn't it?
I saw one really did nothing to provoke it. He was perfectly like.
I've seen loads of them. I've seen loads of old shared on. There was one of a child, just a tiny little. I think it was a little girl, but just this tiny little thing was being thrown around by an officer up a fence and had her arm put up her back, and I just thought, wow! And the police officer even hit. I'm sure it was a little girl.
Oh,
but
wow.
and I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like,
Well,
why isn't anyone stopping you? Somebody was shouting, yelling at him, saying, stop, stop, stop. And he still carried on and hit the kid. I just thought, Jesus. Like, if you're the sort of person who's gone into the job just to, like, overpower people like that.
Right. Hey, I know there's a friend of mine. You guys may see him occasionally on my Facebook posts. He is in law enforcement. Let me tell you this: in high school, dude, this guy was the biggest troublemaker you ever freaking met, dude. Guy was constantly just a troublemaker. He got expelled from the school that we originally went to, and had to go to the crosstown rival school for his last 2 years because he got suspended for having a weapon on campus. Anyways, so I mean, this is the kind of guy he was. Well, this guy ended up going to college, started taking criminal justice classes, and the dude actually works as a law enforcement officer present day. And it's just like, I marvel. I'm like, I love the guy, but he has always been a difficult friend to bear. And his attitudes as the, first of all, the crazy dude that he was to begin with, but now as a law enforcement officer with those crazy ideas now on steroids, it's an interesting thing. But no, I love the guy, but he's always been a difficult friend to bear. But yeah, he gives me that concern, that you were kind of touching on.
Yeah.
I think I know who you're on about. I think I've seen comments in the past. Do you think, Erekose, that harks back to the days of the Wild West, where there was lawlessness and it was a case of shoot first, ask questions later?
There could be some of the remnants of that still hanging about. Yeah.
And also a little bit of the, as you say, in the case of the police officer hitting this person, it's almost as if he's stopped the person, he's arrested him, and now he feels like he's the judge and jury, and he's the sentencer, and he's going to give him plenty before he even gets him into jail.
Oh,
the thing is,
well, sorry, just real quick, but because it's really interesting in the video. At one point, you hear the guy who's been getting hit. He's like, "Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "Oh, stop resisting." He tells the guy, and the guy looks at him and he's like, "Why are you doing this?" And the guy, "Because you're resisting." And the guy was not resisting at all. So, and you're seeing it all play out on camera, and it's just like, and it's like I said, the officer that was there backing him up was not stepping in and going, "Hey, whoa, okay, dude, that's enough," or nothing. Was just sitting back, just that's it, watching it happen, and was merrily watching it happen. And I was just like, oh.
And the thing is, people with that, sorry, people with that kind of mentality, they're like a band of brothers, who will stick up for one another, and they'll manipulate paperwork so that gets covered over. What? I hit them. No, I didn't hit them. That's why I think the fact that people have got mobile phones with cameras on is brilliant now, so that people can film it and say, actually, yes, you did, and your paperwork's lying.
Right.
So they can't hide behind their friends anymore. Those sorts of people. There's some amazing police officers out there who are about justice and who do want to do the right thing. And those kind of people who are out to just hide behind their badge, those give the good ones a bad name.
Absolutely.
Well, that's how the Rodney King thing all kicked off, wasn't it? Remember Rodney King? Was he killed or was he just shot? But I remember that caused the riots in LA, didn't it? The shooting of Rodney King.
That caused riots and caused a bit of the beating of Rodney King, and then also that led to then that caused. Well, you see. Well, let me touch on one thing first here. In terms, anyways, okay, fine. We'll just move on to that. So Rodney King beating happened by the LA Police Department, and that got people outraged. Then, because of that, a gentleman by the name of Reginald Denning was driving his semi truck through a place in LA. That was primarily African American, who were primarily pissed off about what had happened to Rodney King. Seeing that beating on the news, ended up pulling Reginald Denning out of his truck and beat him pretty badly. And so it was a situation that was escalating pretty badly at the time. But yeah, it was a mess. Yeah. But fortunately, it was such a mess that I think it started to correct some of the things here in LA.
Yeah.
But
I mean, unfortunately, one of the things that I would say that in America you do have quite right, is I believe it's Megan's Law, whereby people who are who have got into trouble, particularly sex offenders, they have to then notify everybody within their area that they're living there. We don't get that same coverage here in the UK, and there have been occasions where people have been wrongfully attacked for fear that they are the ones that have just moved into the area. They are some sort of ex-sex offender, and people don't want them living in the area. And there has been one or two vigilante attacks of that nature, unfortunately.
Sure, and there will be with humans because, well, I mean, it's like right now they found murder hornets in the U.S. They're like up at the northern edge of the U.S., southern edge of Canada, over, right on the border, right? Well, here's the problem. Yes, they are a concern, and we do want to try to find their nests and stuff because they're going to do damage to the natural bee population, which is already diminishing. So that is a problem, and we're concerned about it. Problem is that people now, out of fear and reacting out of fear, have now built traps all around where they live, not near the area that I'm talking about, and they're just trapping natural bee population in their area, and they're doing exactly what the murder hornet's going to do. They're helping. Without the murder hornet even being around, they're decimating their own bee population. This is the things that we as humans have to be careful. You have to measure your response to things. And I would use the murder hornet and the natural bee population analogy to help people analyze how to react to COVID-19. The politicians too. I mean, just realize what works, what doesn't, and let's move forward.
That's a good idea.
So what's this COVID-19 that you're on about?
I'm on about that we all need to be wearing, maybe not an N95 one like you see me having here, folks. I just happen to have an N95 because we use these to crawl under houses at my work. So this just happens to be what I've been using here and using it as an example in my studio. But you can get a simple face covering, very simply made, just enough to block your nose and mouth. What this does, folks, is if everybody does it, it means we can all knock down the rate of transmission without crippling our economy. I want to impress that upon people because there's a lot of people out there who are afraid people are going to die, and there's a lot of people out there who are afraid the economy is going to die. Well, I think we can have the best of both worlds if everybody shuts the hell up, covers their nose and mouth, and we can get back to normal, or at least semi-normal, and kind of get the economy back on its feet and pay their bills and not be destitute when this is all said and done. So, I mean, and let's all take a practical approach. Leaders, too. That's what I'm on about. There you go, Paul. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love an MAM mask.
I know, I've just seen that.
Sydney is sending me this week. She said she's going to be sending it to me this week. My Brendan. I stand with Brendan Dassey mask. So I'll be wearing
take one of those to work.
I'll be wearing that one as soon as I get it. So.
Yeah.
Well, T1's already sorted out with his ball gag, isn't he? So he doesn't need a mask, does he?
Yeah, they're right. See, well, it doesn't do anything for his nose, though. So. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You gotta watch out because it could go in through your nostrils too, dude. But more importantly, it comes out. See, that's what the face mask is stopping, folks. That's why we all need to wear it because it's preventing us from transmitting it to people when we're infected, but not having any symptoms. So that we're breathing that virus into our own mask instead of it going out into the wider air. That's the whole idea behind it. And it's how it knocks it down. That's why the mask wearing cultures like Taiwan, South Korea, and Japan have flattened the curve. South Korea, I just saw it in the paper. Okay, the Los Angeles Times. South Korea is already starting up baseball again. I don't think they got people in the stands, but they've got the players out playing on the field with masks on. You know what I mean?
They were talking about doing that with football here, I think.
Right. So I mean, there you go. I mean, that's. I think that says it all. The fact that South Korea, a mask-wearing culture, is starting baseball back up, and their curve is flat. So.
I just want to say hi to everyone in the chat. I have been keeping an eye
hello
on.
everyone.
Hi, everybody over in the chat.
Yeah.
How did we end up talking about COVID?
You asked me about an offhand comment I made because I think, were trying to take the piss, and I don't think you expected me to kind of go off into a rant as I did. So, but that's how we got here, in case you were wondering.
Everything relates to COVID.
I've known for nearly 3 years now how to wind you up.
Yeah, well,
And, but I mean, it started off because if you remember coming back from Australia, it was you that said to me, "How am I going to get this Brendan Dashy T-shirt, control question T-shirt, to Jane?"
right.
And I said, "Well, give it to me, and I'll post it from the UK." Oh, look, we've got another person joining us.
Yay.
Who's this?
What's up, dude?
Daddy's coming to you.
Aw.
You know what? Always happens. Daddy's coming
Aw.
to your iPad.
That's the beauty of children, Jane. They're unpredictable.
I know, very unpredictable.
Yeah.
Unpredictable.
Is that his car in the background?
Yes, that was the car that was
Right.
Daddy's coming now. If you go through that door, you'll go to him. Good boy. Sorry, guys.
There he goes.
Oh.
Off like a rocket.
Yeah. Oh well. I'm lucky I'm even here today, because I was traumatized this afternoon, and so was Milo, because Milo we only have like a little backyard because I live in a terraced house, and Milo had gone out playing in the back, and my eldest daughter has just got a new mattress, but because we can't take her old one to the tip, it's just in the backyard. So Milo's out in the back and he pops his head round this mattress. Next minute, a huge badger comes running out. So Milo legs it into the house like I've never seen him run so fast. So I like sticks my head out to see what the commotion is, and there is a massive badger right in my yard, and it's the size of a pig. It was massive.
What sort of pig are we talking about here?
I don't know. Not a massive pig, but it was. Listen, I have never seen anything like it, and I've had the shakes all afternoon. I thought
It's behind you, Jane. It's getting into the car.
yeah, I thought, but the way Milo shot, he was just legging it for his life. I don't know, but it had been like must have been digging all around the fence and everything. Anyway, it got off in the end. But, oh my God, I was traumatized. Absolutely traumatized.
That's wild.
We are lucky to have you.
We get the occasional possum here in Southern California, but in our backyards. So
yeah, I mean, we do get badgers, but it's not very often you see them, and not that size anyway.
We don't.
Right.
Honestly,
We're lucky if we get hedgehogs where I live.
yeah. Honestly, I nearly passed out. I was traumatized.
Right. Oh, I remember I was going to say, in terms of what Diane was talking about with law enforcement earlier and stuff, I can say that when the way they write reports to support each other, it's true. I know back when I was being a knucklehead in my youth, I came across the police once or twice, and I marveled at the police report that I ended up reading about, that they had written afterwards. It was a lot of creative writing. I mean, I was a knucklehead, and yes, I was doing one thing wrong. But if you would look at this police report that was written, it was like a lot of infactual things. It was actually, I was with a group of people when it happened, and it was putting a lot of attributes to people that didn't fit them. Certain things that it was a really weird situation, but it was all creative writing. It was like all they needed was a story that was good enough, and it didn't have to be accurate. I always marveled at that. After that, I was back when I was 18, 20 years old, being a knucklehead, but but yeah, it was interesting to read that thing afterward. I was just like, it was an eye opener,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
How do you stop that kind of thing from happening as well? Because I'm a nurse.
Lawyer.
And well, the thing is, part of NMC code of practice, the Nursing and Midwifery Council practice, there's like guidance on our documentation. And one of the things that they taught us in uni was if it wasn't written down, it didn't happen. And that kind of that I don't know, it bothers me a little bit, the fact that you can say that if it wasn't written down, it didn't happen, because there's a lot of things that happen, and if you haven't written it down, how can you say that it hasn't happened? Like, you need to be responsible for the things that you're writing down with your interactions with people, because the next person who reads it needs to know exactly what's going on.
Right. Yeah. And how could you possibly write everything down? I mean, sit somebody down in a video and watching a video, say, of a crime scene, and watch them stopping every second so that they can write 2 pages to describe, 1 second's worth of imagery. You know what I mean? Like, so, how can you possibly write everything down as you're there live trying to take in everything? You can't. I mean, and so, it has to be a little bit more malleable than that, but, it's, definitely, but it's the whole thing here is, I think what it comes down to here is the cops know what the courts want to hear, or at least they know how the courts want it worded. They know, they just know how to package it. You know what I mean? That's what they're good at. The only way to stop it is to be able to get a lawyer. And then your lawyer comes in and starts going, okay, well, this, no, this, no, and they start picking it apart. And then that's when they start changing their narrative for court. Because they realize then that your lawyer's going, no, yeah, you're not getting away with this. Nope, you're not getting away with that. And that's what a lawyer's for, So, but yeah, and I didn't end up getting into any trouble really. So, it was just, it was just interesting to read the initial report though. But I was being a bit of a knucklehead. I deserved to have a run-in. So, and the people I was hanging out with deserved to have a run-in. So, anyway.
You learn from your mistakes.
Well, we all do, right? We're all, we're all knucklehead youngsters at one point, and we all do dumb stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done enough dumb stuff to fill 2 warehouses, but.
I used to be young and foolish. Now I'm old and foolish. So I
think I'm in that team as well. I'm not quite old yet. Talking about knuckle-headed things, I need to just say this, because during my live last week, I did a knuckle-headed thing. And I said, because
supporting Villa is not a bad thing at all. Trust me.
It's in my blood. I should really be supporting the Baggies, because they're like down the road from me.
Oh, the West Brom.
Yeah, that's where I was born and raised, West Brom. Yeah. But so on other knuckle-headed things,
retraction.
So I said that the UK Innocence Project had closed, which is stupid, because they're not closed. There's lots of them all over the place that are up and running. What it actually meant was the Innocence Network had stopped running, because that started up in order to encourage innocence projects to form and grow and branch off and then it stopped running because everyone was fully functioning, and so they are up and running.
Right.
I'm sorry to all the innocence projects out there. That was a royal mistake on my part. Slip of the tongue.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like they all splinter off from the original. Here in the United States, we still have the original Innocence Project, obviously started by Barry Scheck and Peter Neufeld, but it's like now they're cropping up all over. You got the Midwest Innocence Project and the this and that and the whatever, they're just all kinds of them now. And then now it's called the Innocence Network, because there's so many of them, it's now called the network. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what had come over to the UK, the Innocence Network, in order to make the projects grow. Right. And now there's loads of projects all over the place. So that the network stopped running because it had done its job, I'm guessing. It's a shame, really, though, that the network isn't still running, so that it keeps all of those projects linked together and keeps the network of people going. Because that's why I was excited about going to the Innocence Network conference in Chicago this year, because I was booked to go there.
They got cancelled.
Yeah, I know, like everything else. I was looking forward to meeting other people like-minded and seeing what they're doing and learning as well.
Well, as I've been talking to Amanda Knox and then because I was talking to Amanda, I was talking to Steve Drizzen, and Steve Drizzen was telling me some stuff about the Innocence conference and everything, and so it's like I'm like I'm gonna go there next year. I realize now this one is canceled, but I'm like I'm totally making sure I'm gonna be at that thing next year. I don't know where it's gonna be, but I'm gonna be there.
It's in Arizona next year.
Oh, nice, dude! Yeah. That's just one state over.
Is it?
I could drive there.
That's what I heard anyway. Like on I think they shared it on the page because I think they sent out emails when they cancelled it to say that it was completely cancelled this year, but it was going to be redone next year in Arizona.
Right.
So. Yeah,
it's really hot, and even if Corona comes back, anyways, I'm sorry. Anyways, no. It is going to be hot though.
We'll just wear our masks; it's fine.
I'll tell you that.
Wash our hands, wear a mask.
That's the one.
So will you go to Arizona, Di?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've never been to America, so I've still got my plane ticket. So once all this is over, I'm still going to Chicago because I've already like mapped out all the places I want to go there. Yeah, my heart's set on it now. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, Chicago has O'Hare. That'll take you right to LAX when you're done. So anyway, well, you probably go to Phoenix, but anyway.
Phoenix,
Arizona for next year's anyway.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in Chicago, you could nip in and say hi to Kathleen Zona, couldn't you?
Yep. That's probably one of the spots she has marked on the map. I would imagine.
I would imagine, yes.
Yeah, that was the first spot.
Yeah. So is Arizona the place that's got those iconic scenes where you've got the massive stone structures that are still left?
There a little bit there, but a lot more in Utah.
Utah, is it? All right.
Yeah. Utah has a lot of that. New
Mexico
and Arizona have it too. It's a lot of desert area, a lot of rocks and a lot of like mountains. I mean, I would imagine when you start getting near Flagstaff is at such a high altitude. Probably a lot of rock formations as you get around Flagstaff, I would imagine.
Right.
Okay. Very good. So, moving on. I want to ask you guys how you thought Mamathon went, because I really enjoyed it. I think the whole event was fantastic. And I just wanted to ask you what were your highlights of Mamathon?
Highlights? Ooh.
Yeah.
Sharon's video for Teresa. That was awesome.
Yeah,
definitely.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah.
And it was right. It was just perfect for the kickoff. I enjoyed. Let me see. I mean, there was a lot of stuff, but I mean, if I'm going to pick highlights, Stacy with Jerome in the middle of the night, which a lot of people missed.
Yeah.
And listening to Stacy talk about the community and talk about the community and stuff. I really dug that one. That one was really good. Johnny chatting with Trisha Bushnell.
Yeah.
Again was phenomenal, and even Aaron Moriarty. But Trisha, that was the one I was pretty excited about because I just remembered her from the first series and everything. So I was really intrigued to hear from her. And all the wrongfully convicted, like with Tracy and even Adam Brazil. And then in general on everybody's channels, just all of the people that were involved, all of the various supporters that were there, like Mystic Jinx and Jay Jackson, the Henburys and everybody, the Dr. Silkman's, who actually was on my opening segment, and stuff like that. Obviously, Steve Moore, retired FBI agent Steve Moore, who was in my opening segment. I'm so glad that he agreed to do a little interview with me for Mammothon. And there's a possibility, folks. There's a possibility. I'm not going to guarantee you yet, but there's a possibility he's going to come on with me again, and he's going to go ahead and give you guys some of his thoughts about Stephen Avery.
Wow.
For sure, yeah. But he's researching. Him and his wife are researching, and that may happen. So that's something that'll be real interesting. Just remember, folks, he may not come out here, cheerleader for Stephen Avery, but if he has a problem with things in the case, he'll tell you what his problem is.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
So that may be cool. So, but anyways, back to Mammothon, and then I gotta say the capper goes back to Stacy again with, I tried to make my last segment about, working in as much of the community as possible. I extended an invitation to every host. Most of the hosts expressed to me that they were tired or in bed or were already doing something else. And so the ones that came. And so, we had quite a few people, and I did as much as I could because 6, you're only allowed 6 on StreamYard. It kind of sucks. But anyway, I wish it would allow more, but it doesn't. Even when you pay for it, it's still 6. Anyways, but we had as many people there as possible, and we had a lot of fun. Ripper got in there at the end. He was joking around and having a lot of fun.
Oh, that was hilarious.
And then after that little segment of, with all of us chatting and having fun, Stacy went and did about an hour and 20 minutes winding Mammothon down while he was playing, some of his hits, as we would all consider them, here in the MAM world. And that was a great way to wind it down. I mean, it's a perfect way to wind it down because, I know I was still kind of like, coming off of my last segment that I was still like up, and so getting to sit down and just with everybody and listen to Stacy's songs and stuff, I was able to kind of deacclimate, from the level of on, you got to kind of, it's a whole different level sitting down for something like Mammothon and going live for 3 hours. It's a whole different thing, I got to say, than just the casual things I normally would do, where I come on, I go live for about 45 minutes or so. I talk to you guys until I'm ready to stop talking, basically, right? Or whatever kind of thing, right? But with those segments, there's a lot more planning. So you're just more on edge. And so you're just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not adrenaline, but it's something similar to that. And anyway,
yeah.
So anyway, Stacy's winding it down that way was perfect. So.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my answer.
And what about you, Paul?
And they call me the Haverer. They call me the Haverer.
It was hard for me to pick any one thing. I had to tip my hat to everybody. So
I wouldn't choose anyone.
Oh, I forgot the mods.
I would
and Diane and all the others. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
I would not.
When I wake up.
Yeah, I would not choose anyone over anybody else. I thought everybody was equally good.
Yeah, well,
and it's something that
I didn't want to bore everybody with a.
Yeah, it's something that does bug me at times is, if we're saying, oh, we've got this fantastic guest on, as if somehow all the other guests that we've had on haven't been as good as this one, and you've got to be careful about that.
I'm not trying to suggest anything like that, folks. I'm not affiliated with this man. He is completely speaking for himself.
Can you separate these on the screen, Jane?
Everybody in Mammothon was brilliant, despite what he's suggesting. Anyways, all right, go ahead.
And everybody. I mean, the thing is, the most important people aren't the guests. They're not the hosts. They're not the mods. They're the people that tune in.
People that are tuning in, and
they are the most important.
They're a huge part of it.
Without them, there would be no Mammothon.
That's correct. Yeah, true.
Yeah. So I would like to pay tribute to everybody that tuned in. I think they're the real stars.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, we do get quite a lot of praise, I must admit, for, you know, for doing things from time to time. But it's really, it's very, very easy, isn't it, dude? It's very, very easy to, you know, to just chat in front of a camera. Really, it's not that big a deal, is it?
I disagree. I mean, I disagree.
Yeah, I would as well. I've nearly had 2 heart attacks this week.
I don't, you know, it's, for me, it's, I have to feel like I have to feel good about what I'm saying. That's become a big part of my mentality now on YouTube is I'm not even going to hit the record button or the live button unless I am feeling it. If I'm not feeling it nowadays, I'll just do something else. I'll try to message somebody who's been wrongfully convicted to try to start a dialogue, or I'll research some part of a case, or I'll look back into maybe the Scott Davis documents, or I'll whatever. I'll do something else and sometimes I really want to. I want to go live and I want to be out there for the community to gather together and whatever and stuff. But I honestly have gotten to the point where it's like I don't want to just be being repetitive at this point. So I think the best part of what people tune in for me is when I'm passionate. So that's what I've basically gotten to the point is if I'm not feeling passionate about it, it's kind of a wink anyway. So but the passion's still there because as you can tell, I'm still on YouTube multiple times a week. And if you watch both channels, you probably don't have time for all of it. So anyway.
Oh
no, I don't think it's difficult. I must disagree. I don't think it's difficult at all. I think looking at it from my point of view, being 4,000 miles away from Manitowoc, I once said to Robert Herman, I said to him, I bet you can't understand why it is that somebody from 4,000 miles away could be bothered to get on the phone to you to complain to you about your department and the way that they've treated Stephen Avery. Can I assure you, Robert, if it was you in the same situation as Stephen Avery, I would be doing exactly the same for you.
Right.
And it's
Well,
just
his response.
If you ever want inspiration to get out and do something on YouTube, just remember the words of Brendan Dassey. He didn't say, people of America, help me if you can. He said, people of the world. And although some people think America is their world, it is their world, it's all they know, for most people, the world is this big round thing called the planet that we live on.
Yeah.
And I just want to remind everybody that my esteemed colleague over here, when he first got started, he was like, okay, that's my last video. He did one video about some email that he had with Herman. And he's like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm like, oh, no, I'm done. No. And then he does another one.
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, no, that's the last one. That's what I'm like, yeah, sure. And then it starts rolling out, right? But no, even you at first were uncomfortable about it, Paul. That's my point. You got into it eventually. You caught the bug, as I call it, just like Sharon Sunshine has now, and as we're going to obviously be seeing the two ladies here going through in the coming months, obviously. But we know Linda obviously got the bug. You know what I mean? It happens, but I think it's still a lot of responsibility to host a segment of.
I mean, look, what I would point out was that for me to do a video, which I did do, as you said, I was never going to be, like a video like an Erekose video where he's a whiz kid when it comes to the computer and he can put up film of that and stuff of that and pictures of that and I mean I've only just got to the stage where I can screen share, And even then, sometimes things go
right. StreamYards has given you the ability to do live what I've always been able to do in an upload. Yeah.
Right. And things like getting the green screen. I mean, my green screen is working great today because it's not a green screen at all. I'm actually in my genuine room.
Yeah.
But no, the thing was, the reason I only thought about doing one was because, as I say, there was no way I was going to be able to compete with that fella. I was, and I've always said all along, I'm not in this to try and compete with him. I'm here to try and help in whatever way I can, to raise as much interest as I can.
I think of it as a concert or a choir.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Sorry, Paul.
No, you carry on. I'm going to say it's not that difficult, to be honest, as the dude actually did a video about this himself. He said, look, it's not that difficult. I remember when he had his studio and he didn't have anything on the walls. The place was empty, and he just did this video where he put this little phone on a stand, and he said, this is all you need to do. Just talk about the case. Just do a couple of minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. Just put down your thoughts about the case. And I mean, it got so desperate that the dude actually wore a kilt in one video in order to try and encourage people to do this. So no wonder now, we're looking back on Mammothon going, hallelujah. It's all coming to fruition. I mean, I was on the Foul Play chat last week, and there's 4 channels just off the top of my head that have only just started up in the last year. Foul Play, Linda, Millbilly, Andrew. They're
Jerome,
nearly.
Jerome has his.
I think Jerome's been going a bit longer than a year, hasn't he?
No, I mean, he has a Discord. I mean, there's Discord communities for Millbilly, for Foul Play,
Yeah.
But they also have Foul Play has a YouTube channel as well. Yeah.
That's right. But all of those are very near or just over 1,000 subscribers in just a year.
Yeah, right.
And that was the point I was trying to make. It's the to use the posh word, it's the proliferation of people getting out and doing videos about it, talking about it, and branching off into all the other great stuff. I mean, when you look at that list of 24 documentaries that Netflix have released since Making a Murderer came out, there is enough stuff to talk about in those 24s. 4 hours. You don't have to be a havering Scotsman like me. You could be a mumping moaner like him.
Mumping, that's the word.
You can easily get on and do your.
Can we combine the
two? Be very careful what you wish for.
So let's let Jane get on and answer the question here.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say I was going to have my green screen up today, but with all the badger business, it set me off a bit. So. I didn't end up putting up, but Linda was just asking a question of what made me do the YouTube thing, and I think me and Di had spoke about it in about January. We talked about doing it, but we never kind of got anything off the ground, did we? And it was
the end of last year because we met, didn't we? We met up.
We met up, yeah. And then it kind of marathon and hearing all the exonerees, like the likes of Sydney and Ricky Kidd and Jason Strong and Adam Brazil. And it was hearing them talk. That just made me like, I want to be able to do more. I want to talk about it. So that's kind of, and also like you guys, seeing what you do kind of, and then getting the encouragement. So yeah, that's what.
Just to go back a couple of points about badgers. You do know that, of course, Wisconsin is known as the Badger State.
Right.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, but also
the Wisconsin University is the Wisconsin Badgers.
The Wisconsin Badgers. But also, I've just checked up, and you're okay because badgers do not eat humans. So you'll be okay next time. Okay.
Thank God. Linda's asking you the same question, Di.
What's a question? Why
you got started?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's basically me and Jane were talking about it. She'd asked me a couple of times. I mean, she asked me to go on Erekose's channel last year, and I was like, no, thank you. Terrified, thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say?
I don't blame you. You don't know where you might end up.
Yeah. That's no
Well,
offense. Like, I was just terrified at the idea of even going on a live. And then it wasn't until a couple of months back when Linda asked me to go on a live for the very first time that I went onto her channel. And then I just realised it wasn't so bad. And then me and Jane have been talking about doing it for a while.
That's another part of this, why I'm glad other people are getting up and doing this, because I mean, you just pointed to it. I mean, obviously you felt maybe a little intimidated coming on with me, but you felt less so with Linda, right? And that helped you get your feet wet. You know what I would say, right? I mean, that's another thing about this type of community, and you know, there's probably going to be eventually in the end, we're going to find out that certain folks there's going to be certain guests and people that we want to talk to in the wrongful conviction community or the MAM community that are going to probably be more responsive to certain requests from YouTubers than others. And we're going to probably see that happen because people are going to just feel more affinity with certain people, and they feel more. When somebody decides to give an interview, they're taking a bit of a risk. You know what I mean? They know that they're taking a bit of a risk. So, you know, it's nice to have different flavors for people to feel comfortable with, because among the community, we'll probably be able to canvas a lot of very good information for people to pick up on.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Goal.
Yeah.
Dude, what was the first community that you sort of established that you sort of set up? Was it on Google Hangouts, or was it?
I would have to say that was probably the first one. I mean, I had some Facebook groups. I had, you know, some various connections of friends through Facebook, through various messenger groups and everything. But the first thing that really came together when I started going live after MAM2 came out on October 18th of 2018. That quickly grew into, we started with Hangouts. Then we got to where it was 200 people, and there were more people still wanting to pour in. And so that was when Allie and Denise discovered, I think through Denise's son, they discovered that they could use this thing called Discord that the gamers use to talk to each other while they game. And so we started looking into that. They built that whole thing up, built that server up in a lot of ways. And that was like, that was like a match. That was like that was a spark that was basically starting a fire, because then other YouTubers started doing their communities. And now we have the foul play community. Like I said, the foul play community right now is definitely the powerhouse community right now. There's a lot of actual in-depth and serious research going on over there. Yeah. And so my hat's off to the foul play community. They're doing good work over there.
And it was about that time that you went to Discord that you changed the name to the Cozy Wrecking Crew, or did somebody else change it for you?
Well, it started out on Hangouts. It started out on Hangouts as Cozy Heads.
And then what does that mean? What does it mean?
Cozy Heads? Well, Cozy Heads was like, it was because of Erekose. So it was like Cozy Heads. They were like Erekose Heads. You know, so it was like this thing about like if they were my subscribers, fans, whatever you might want to say, right?
Well, I mean, what does Erekose mean?
Oh, sorry, Erekose.
It means a mumping haver from the island of Crunch.
I was just explaining this to Sharon the other day. I really got to do a video about this sometime. But no, it's a character from my favorite fiction by Michael Moorcock. And, you know, as I was saying this on a video the other day. Erekose is the version of the Eternal Champion that the multiverse essentially plucks from one place and drops in another wherever it needs him. So he'll be pulled out of one champion and dropped into another champion somewhere else in a different realm in the multiverse, so that he can then do what needs to be done, type of thing. So he's an interesting version. So I chose his name because he's always been my favorite. There's 4 different versions in the fiction that I like of the Eternal Champion, but Erekose just happened to be the one I chose. So
he's the eternal champion. Champion at havering, champion at mumping. But no, what I was going to say was that I remember when you first started.
So anyway, sorry, real quick, Paul.
Okay,
so Cozy Heads. Then after a while, it became Saving Private Cozy, And then ultimately, when it moved to the Discord, it was Cozy's Wrecking Crew. So there you go. That's how
I
that
remember
was the evolution there.
Yeah, I remember sometimes you would do live chats on Discord or was it Hangouts? It was one or the other. And I think it's Hangouts first of all, wasn't it? It was the Hangouts. You would
We
do
did
like
calls. Yeah, we would sit there and talk and have calls on Hangouts.
Yeah. I
And then
remember
on Discord too. So
Yeah, I remember chatting with Dr. Silkman then, because I explained to you, didn't I? I said, you do realize that you have known Dr. Silkman, not as Dr. Silkman, but you've
Right.
known the guy.
I know what you're talking about.
He's an Aussie from Adelaide, beautiful city of Adelaide. You've known him for about 3 years now. You know, he's always been there. You know, but he's basically the one that's created the foul play along with all the other researchers, and it's just great how
Jeff
people like him, have gone on and done their own stuff. You know,
absolutely. No, they're doing great work over there. Yeah, my hats off to them.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're helping keep the community informed. Whenever people are looking to go look into something, they know they can go over there, and there's a lot of people who are most likely going to be able to help them find what they're looking for. So that's the kind of things that Stephen and Brendan need. So that's one thing that Foul Play is providing. So Foul Play is doing a great job. It's a collection of people working together, which is also great because I like to see people working together. And it's not a common thing nowadays. People seem to find a lot of reasons to fall out.
Yeah.
But it's been great to see them over there. What they're doing, they keep it going. It's consistent, and my hat's off to them. So,
one of the things that is quite interesting, of course, is that when sort of just after Making a Murder first came out, you had two ladies, Mama Phoenix and Laura, Perplex Cutie,
right,
and they were doing a lot of videos, and in fairness, the thing that made you stand out was the fact that the language wasn't quite so industrial, and that's another good thing, isn't it? You know, we have got a lot more ladies now doing videos. Doing live chats. You know, they're quite happy to come on and share their opinion. You know, to the extent where now you've got, instead of a lot of the ladies being eventually becoming guests and agreeing to come on and do live chats, they're now becoming hosts themselves,
right.
It's great when you see that kind of evolution,
Exactly. And that's what I mean. It's like I feel good now that I can now kind of start covering Avery Dassey and wrongful convictions because I have all of you guys. All of you guys are going to be right there continuing to talk about Avery Dassey and give people a place to go for the Avery Dassey content while I am trying to move into a new area. And if I have to drag some of them kicking and screaming, if I got to, over into looking at wrongful convictions, because it's only going to help us as a community to take that wider interest.
This is one of the questions that we wanted to ask, actually. Like, how do you go about finding new cases to work on? Like, what do you do to find them?
Well, the best thing to do is you can try at the Innocence Project websites and always look for the most recently exonerated people. Right now, I've been talking with two in particular. I've been sort of reaching out to a couple others on Twitter in the sense of just trying to put out feelers. But I've been talking to Amanda Knox, who I originally caught her eye through Twitter. And you can't message Amanda Knox, unfortunately, folks, unless she messages you first. So that's how I am talking to her. So that's the way I'm able to talk to her. So and then I've been talking to Ricky because I was so impressed with him, Ricky Kidd, because I was just extremely impressed with Ricky on Tracy's segment. I think the guy is amazing. Number one, I like his platform. I like his idea of I am resilience, or we are resilience. And he's talking about something like resilience, which is, you got to understand when you look at the word resilience, folks, and the meaning of it, it doesn't mean life is all roses and lollipops. Resilience. That's why I like his choice of word. Resilience is something that means the road is bumpy, but it's rewarding in the end. And so I like the fact that he's choosing that as his message. And the second thing I really like about Ricky is the fact that he's so intense. But just like me, I can see that he measures that intensity. He doesn't let it get the better of him. And I think he's going to be a powerful, effective, person arguing for wrongful convictions moving forward. And I encourage everybody out there right now to go over to Ricky's YouTube. He is on YouTube. Ricky.
Has anyone got a link to it out there?
It's Ricky Kid 23 to free. You type that in, it'll come up. He only has about 42 subscribers right now, folks. I have a feeling he is eventually going to have thousands. So go on over there and hit subscribe and be one of Ricky's first 100. And
just while you're talking about that, I did also want to mention something. I wanted to encourage people to watch over on Tracy Strunzi's channel. She had Ricky Kidd on and Lamar Johnson's lawyer.
Talking about that,
Lindsay Runnels on her channel the other night, and they were talking about the Lamar Johnson case, which is ongoing. So I just want to encourage people to
move your mic, Jane.
You're not here?
Yeah, you went a bit muffly.
Sorry.
No, that's cool.
I just wanted to encourage people to give that a watch because Ricky Kidd is also he's also on that interview.
Yes, that's a good one too. I watched that.
Yeah,
he did a nice little tribute this morning, folks, for Mother's Day, where he was reading some poems about moms that from a book in his book, I think it is, and it was great. So it was a lot of fun, and so you guys can go over. It was about half an hour he spent. If you go over to either his page, so you just look for Ricky Kidd Freed on Facebook, and you'll be able to find it, or type in I Am Resilience. There's a page called I Am Resilience.
You know what's interesting there? Another translation of resilience would be to say the dude abides.
Yeah.
It would honestly, because to abide actually means to suffer. Suffer a bit, and that's really what
for the greater good.
Resilience is, yes. It's suffering, putting up with it, doesn't it? And the dude abides. It's
Carla Chase says, and set in his ways too. Oh, she may be right about that.
Who's set in his ways? You are.
I was, she tagged me on a Facebook post recently and everything, and so in talking about there were other truthers in that particular group. She was arguing with somebody, and so I came in there and I posted the picture of the dude stirring his White Russian, right?
Yeah.
With kind of the look in his eyes, right? And she came in and she said, she like laughed at it. I said, yeah, the dude abides. And then she goes, and she said, she came in and said, yeah, and he's set in his ways too. Like, let's see if I come to help you on a Facebook post again.
You're asking about where to go to find good stuff to research. I mean, I must admit, there's no way I could do what some of the people do. Like Millbilly, listening to hours and hours of phone calls, and getting all that stuff, and then having the time. I saw a presentation, I think it was on Linda's channel of during Mamathon, of a guy. He would looked at all the photographs and realized what it all meant, and putting it all together. And you got like some Megillah that went to the lengths of trying to figure out what each dog track sent, what they were actually looking for. I mean, I can't do that sort of stuff. That's not what I'm into. What I'm into is looking at things like how did some of this stuff come about? What is causing all this stuff? Looking at for example, that there's loads and loads of legal documents. I've read through the the decision by William Duffin, which was very, very interesting. I've read through the Steve Drizzen and Richard Leo, false confessions in the post DNA world. There's loads and loads of stuff out. It's just full of it. There are so many different angles you can approach it from. As I say, what annoyed me most when I watched Making a Murderer was the fact that I know people involved in the police here. Yeah, that was it. Reddit, Odog.
Oh yeah.
Odog.
Oh, dog.
You know,
That's Jeff and his dog Zoe.
yeah. I mean, I know people here in Scotland and down south, you know, involved in law enforcement, and they are good people. And the fact that Manitrop Sheriff's Department are making everybody involved in law enforcement look bad, they really are. They're giving everybody involved in law enforcement a bad name, and that's what really annoyed me. You know, of all the people that I thought of getting in touch with, I thought, no, I'll phone Sheriff's Department, see if I can speak to somebody at the Sheriff's Department. Didn't think for one moment I'd get through to Herman, but I did. You know, it's yeah. I don't know about that. It was interesting at times, but you know that's what annoyed me. So you know, I'm coming from it I'm sure I'm coming from it from quite a different angle from a lot of other people. You know, I mean, you know, the dude, as I say, when I first started watching him, you know, you've got stuff like Xander Road Part 1 and Part 2, which was incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
You know, to do with Paul Metz reporting a fire, and he's saying that the smell was coming from Avery Salvage Yard, which was over 4 miles away. You know,
and the fact that he's now come on and said he never said that. Yeah. It's like number one, if you did say it, that shows some disturbing things about this area that you would claim that about an area 4.5 miles south of you. And if you didn't say it, it still proves something disturbing about the area. It's because it means the deputy was putting words in your mouth in order to help what he wanted. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, so no matter what, that whole Metz situation is disturbing. So not necessarily Metz's fault if an officer was putting words in his mouth. So, you know, but yeah.
I mean, I must admit, when I first reached out to Erekose, did I think that I'd met somebody that I could wind up so much? No, I did not.
Bringing up the first time we reached out to Erekose, I guess we're going to get into the embarrassing part of it, folks. So this one day, I'm going down to the AAA. That's basically here. It's not the DMV here or the Department of Motor Vehicles, but here, if you have AAA membership, you can go there and pay some of your DMV fees and stuff through there. Anyways, that's what AAA is, so everybody understands what that is. Okay, so I'm going down there. I pay my car fees for the day. I'm walking out, you know, got my registration tags and all, whatever, you know, and suddenly my phone's ringing in a way that my phone has never rang before. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm looking at it, and it's saying Paul Capaldi. And I'm like, well, who's that? And everything. And it was a messenger call, folks. I had never received one before. It was completely foreign to me. So I was like, okay. So I answer it. And I'm like, hello. And suddenly there's this drunk Scotsman on the other side showering me with all kinds of very, very nice things that he was saying, but like drunk and slurring, and it was great. We talked for about a half an hour. It was awesome. But he's never liked that story because he claims he wasn't drunk, but he was drunk. He was so drunk. He was totally steaming.
Not true, Paul.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
It was great fun, though.
I'm not going to try and I'm not going to try and deny that, because I do remember I remember I was watching, it was Aaron Keller, and he was interviewing, I think it was Jerry Butin, and or was it? In fact, no, I think it was just Aaron Keller, and he was looking at the whole of the Brendan confession, you know, and at the end at the end of it, when he actually played all of the stuff at the end, you know, I mean, it was really quite devastating to see that Brendan. It's like finally the penny had dropped, that he realised what he'd actually done. So I mean, I think I tried to get in touch with Carla, and she wasn't available. So I thought, phone the dude, So yes, I probably did. And I think I also sent an apology to both you and Carla to say that I've learned my lesson.
Oh yeah, you called her too. I do remember. Her and I had a conversation about that.
Yeah. Not to finish half a bottle of vodka and then get on the phone to people. So
it's to America. Yeah, it worked out right for him though, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me just write that one down.
The other interesting thing about the dude is the fact that the reason I like him so much, and the reason I have so much respect for him, is actually not actually Mamathon related. It's MAM related. It's because I've got to know the guy. He's there's a lot more to Erekose than just the guy that we see. Talking about making a murder. There's obviously a lot more to the guy, and I mean, when you get to meet him. Yeah, that is something else. This huge American fella. I mean, I remember killing myself laughing at outside the Marvel Stadium when there were some youngsters playing with their Aussie rules football, and right. he was like a kid. He was desperate to get in there and have a go.
I wanted to kick the ball once. Yep, I did, and I did.
You did. But yeah, there's. As I say, we've grown. I've grown quite fond of him. I don't know if he's that fond of me, but the thing is, I think what he has realised over the years, of course, is that often my insulting of him is more a sign of affection than anything else.
It's got its way.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it to somebody who you didn't feel very fond of, you would tend not to, because you realise it would be taken the wrong way, So I know no matter what I call him and whatever we do, he's. I mean, often he'll post something.
Could be worse though. Could be in Glasgow. Ask Sharon. If they don't want to take the piss, they're just pulling out the knife, So it's like. So you really want to be well liked, so you just get the piss taken. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, those of you who know understand knife crime in Glasgow and some past videos Sharon and I did with Moscow or We Scottish Lass, you would understand that. Anyways, never mind.
So, just before we wrap up, I'd like you to talk about an event that you've got coming up in October, because it's really exciting, and I'd like you to.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, all right. So what we're planning, Mark Hodnott and I have had this idea now. We've been talking about it for a couple months and everything. Mr. Capaldi here is likely to be part of it if he can behave himself. And
I'll be in there.
Obviously, I'm looking to have, Jane and Diane here to help us along with others in the planning process here over the next few months. Fortunately, we have several months to do this because it's kind of a new animal. It's not the same as Mamathon. It's going to be a bit of a different format because we're going to be, although Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey are fully on the conversational menu for this event, they will not be the only thing on the conversational menu. And I think everybody needs to get excited about that, or I hope everybody will, because it's like I said, talking about wrongful convictions is what we're going to be doing. And by doing that, we're learning more. We're learning how the system gets it wrong. It's important to learn the ways that we're finding out that the system continuously gets it wrong right now. And that's what learning about other wrongful convictions does. So that's what this event's going to be about. And we're going to be hopefully a lot, hearing it a lot right from the mouths of people who have been exonerated, who were wrongfully convicted and have been exonerated. That's what we're looking to do. I've already been talking and reaching out to folks. You guys know I'm going to be having Ricky Kidd on Tuesday on my channel, Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific. and him and I are going to be having a chat and everything. And he may be able to be there for the weekend that we're having this event. We may move the weekend, but right now it's tentatively planned to be the weekend for Wrongful Conviction Day. So Wrongful Conviction
What
Day.
is that day?
Wrongful Conviction Days fall is October 2nd. It falls on a Friday. It just happens to be a Friday. And what my plan is to start at about, somewhere in between 7 and 10 o'clock on Friday night, Central Time, I guess, somewhere in between there on Friday night, and do a similar, do it with a similar kind of template for Mammothon in terms of, developing time slots and having multiple hosts be able to bring on multiple, guests and talk about. Now, it doesn't just have to be that. It doesn't have to be just, wrongfully convicted people, folks. We may end up having families of gentlemen who are trying to fight their wrongful convictions. We may end up having some of that. I'm gonna, be trying to, as seriously as I can, I'm gonna be trying to reach out to as many as possible. And my idea is for all the hosts that choose to take part in this event, that I will hopefully be able to get guests, at least some guests for them myself, and maybe they can come up with some of their own guests on their own. We'll see how that all goes. As I said, we still have 4 or 5 months looking at this thing, so it's not like it's just coming right boom, on us. So that's where we're headed with it. That's the idea. More awareness about wrongful convictions, how they happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to be pounding on things why shows on Netflix like The Innocence Files are so important, and that I hope I hope that one continues into multiple seasons. The Innocence Project continues to tell the stories. People need to understand how these common things keep happening, and wrongful convictions are the result. And the other thing I want to be pounding on that weekend, I think this is going to be the main mantra for that weekend is, folks, when the state gets it wrong, don't tell me about how unfair it is to the victim's family or whatever, and that should sway me emotionally. Because when the state gets it wrong, I want you to understand how much of your own taxpayer money that they're wasting. Okay? They are, number one, wasting your taxpayer money on a bogus conviction in the first place, on that whole thing. Okay? You have the convicted person's family, the wrongfully convicted person's family, who walks away from it jaded and hurt and bewildered and everything. You have the wrongfully convicted in jail. You have then it comes to the community at large and everything. And ultimately, the community at large is continuing to pay when that wrongfully convicted person is hiring lawyers and bringing, appeals and all that and stuff and introducing new evidence and shooting holes in it, and the state is continuing to fight it instead of going, oh, you know what, we made a mistake, and they continue to fight it. That's your money. As they continue to fight it, that's your money bleeding away.
And it's keeping the victims' families face down in the mud as well.
So your money's bleeding away all that time. The state is obstinately standing in the way of what's right. So your money's bleeding away that whole time. Then eventually the wrongfully convicted person is successful and proves what douchebags that you are. And then you have to pay a huge payout to the person. It costs you a hell of a lot more than it ever would have if you had just taken care of it properly back when you figured out that you had made a mistake. And so you end up costing the people in your area so much more money, and yet you want to say it's the wrongfully convicted people that are doing it, that are costing the people in your area. No, it's to me, it's important for people to realize that the more our DA offices, our state officials fight these wrongful convictions and don't want to fess up to them because they're too busy covering their ass, that can't be acceptable, and it's wasting, it's bleeding away your taxpayer dollars, wasting far more money than anything that they want to say is wasting your money. That is wasting your money.
And the bottom line is nobody wins.
No.
And nobody is then held accountable.
And that's the one thing that really bears down on me. Like, the fact that nobody's been held to
conviction. Yes, the actual the actual person who did it goes on to victimize somebody else. That's
Yeah.
I forgot that one. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, does anybody know, actually, on that subject, does anybody know if there is somewhere that holds those statistics for us to know? Like how many other people have gone out and reoffended while somebody's been incarcerated for something they haven't done?
I don't think. Well, I don't know. I would say that
imagine.
it seems like the lawyers have to suss that thing out. I mean, when I watched the Innocence Files, when they took on those cases, they had to go look around and go, okay, here's another case in the area that looks similar to this, and whatever. So like they have to go and they have to kind of suss it out. So I would say probably not centrally located at this point in time.
Yeah, it would be interesting because of how many people have been exonerated.
Right.
Just in America alone.
This project might have something based on their cases to date, maybe.
That would be interesting to know.
But so,
yeah.
I mean, basically getting back to your weekend or whenever it is in October, because of course, remember, I think it's October the 18th. It's Brendan's birthday, isn't it? Because that's when MAM2 came out, was it not? Right, November, October 18th.
October 18th is when Making a Murderer came out, right?
Because it was on Brendan's birthday, yeah. But for me, it's like this would be the natural progression from Mamathon, to expand it out and to have a lot of these, up and coming channels get involved, and as you say, looking at further at these,
Well, Mamathon's free to do as it wishes, and I believe they have a mind. To move in that direction as well. But obviously, Mamathon's going to hold on to the name Mamathon. Why not? It's you're kind of building on the success of the Making a Murderer documentaries. It's so why if it ain't broke, why fix it? So.
Oh no, absolutely.
But I think they have plans to expand it that way, and I mean, well, you clearly see they did this year. I mean, Tracy's entire segment was, except for speaking with Sandy, when she had her little chat with Sandy Greenman, but the rest of it was all, there was Doreen, who was speaking for her son, who was wrongfully convicted, and then you had Ricky and Jason, so exonerees, So I mean, it does seem that Mamathon has a mind to head in that direction as well. This weekend coming up is going to be kind of like, it's like I said, Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey certainly aren't off limits, but I mean they're just not going to be the main part of conversation. They're going to be a part of the conversation, but an equal part.
Yeah.
So, I think ultimately, when you look at all these wrongful conviction cases, isn't it astounding how many times you can see something happen in another case that you can see exactly how it happened in Stephen Brendan's case. There's so many parallels with all of these. These other wrongful convictions.
That's what I want people to see. That's exactly what I want people to see.
Yeah.
And how that affects. Yeah,
and you do see that going through them. You see the parallels of how the same they are in each case.
Yeah, and that's what I want people to see. It's like I said. I mean, it's once you start to see that, it helps you argue more effectively, because when somebody tries to make your argument sound ridiculous and say, "Oh, a cop wouldn't do that." Oh yeah, well, a cop did do that in this case and whatever. So you were saying. You know what I mean? And it just makes you more. It makes you more effectively able to argue your points without somebody trying to ridicule you or make you seem ridiculous, or without them trying to gaslight you or anything, because you got the facts to back you up.
Yeah.
And so I mean that's what I want to help people with, and that's what I want to do. Plus, folks, if we as the MAM community, you don't have to go digging in like you did on Avery Dassey on all these cases. All you have to do is learn about what the lawyers ended up finding out and what came out in the end, and know where the prosecution went wrong in these cases, or the investigation, or wherever it was that these cases got it wrong. You know what I mean?
think that would be something really interesting to do, because that's finding out like after the fact, once they've been wrongfully convicted, which once they've been released, they've been exonerated. Right. Like I think we could go on to something from that and like find the people who, the ones who are writing to the Innocence projects, like looking for help. Like we're a big growing community. like that's the sort of thing that we can be helping with as well.
Sure.
Surely.
I mean, if we were starting to dig into some of those cases for the Innocence Project, potentially, I mean, obviously they're limited in funding, but if we were to start to take an interest and maybe send them interesting things about those cases that they haven't discovered because they weren't able to read the letter yet, or weren't able to do anything yet, it might be that we, a group of armchair detectives looks into one of those and goes, oh yeah, we found this, that, sends somebody at the Innocence Project an email going, check out these pages of this, and you might want to look into that. If you make it easy for them to figure out which ones are really, really good cases, that's something that could be useful to them. So
let us help. Like, that's what I want to do. Get them people out of prison, like, as well as raising awareness. Like, what this event that you're planning is going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to helping any way I can with that.
Well, a quick question.
Yes.
Of the four of us here, who has actually watched Don't F with Cats?
Yes. Yeah.
I've seen it.
That got me excited. I just wanted to get back on and get stuck in researching.
They actually found that group of
Luke
like our community. They actually found who he was.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Just a group of people.
It was bizarre. They were checking out
like Ripper's doing at the moment with the Don Lewis case.
Yeah. But they were doing things like checking plugs in Russia and checking out Russian language.
Hoover, me. You know that? Yeah. Wow.
I mean,
that's the sort of thing that you like. People power. You don't have to be like paid to do it. You just have to be passionate about wanting
what you're doing. About wanting to help.
I can't settle knowing that all of those people have written for help, like, please help me, and I'm stuck in prison, like, and there's nothing anyone can do.
Guess who's going to watch Don't F with Cats tonight?
Yes, watch it. It's very good.
It will just remind you of like our community, won't it? And like I say, what Ripper's doing now with the Don Lewis case.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just a group of individuals that got on social media, formed a group, and they delve right in.
And it has a proper ending.
Oh yeah.
It has what you want. It has that proper ending.
Yeah.
And don't worry, law enforcement don't come out of this all smiling. Because they could have taken heed of what this group
they certainly could if they'd have listened.
Yeah.
Right.
I just didn't say.
I mean, some of it is disturbing, and it's not. It is quite disturbing, but it's well worth watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll check it out.
Yeah,
definitely you should.
The
dude abides. Resilient.
Yes.
The dude is resilient.
And measured intensity.
Yes.
Anyway.
I've really enjoyed chatting to you today.
Yeah, well, we've been going for just like an hour and a half, and I can't believe that. An hour and a half. So
just the idea of coming on scares you, and then next thing you know,
an hour and a half later, there you go.
Yep.
Well,
I'd like when you have good guests. It gets fun. It's more fun than it is, work. So anyway,
it is.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you both for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Both. It's nice to finally talk to you both.
Especially thank you for having him, dude. I mean, geez.
All the mods.
Yeah.
Posting the links, and I've put a lot of the links in the description below. But the mods have been posting links throughout, so
I even managed to post one. I'm quite chuffed with myself. Right.
So we shall see you all soon.
Yeah, thanks.
And if you'd like to say goodbye, everyone.
It's goodbye from him.
Yeah.
You're supposed to say it anyway. That's goodbye for him, folks. He got it all wrong. He can't even get his own country TV sayings right. Oh my God. Jesus. That's wavering for you, folks. That's the definition textbook right there. Anyways.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Yeah,
everybody.
bye. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.